What is a true fact so baffling? It should be false. People were deliberately infected with malaria to cure their syphilis. And the man who developed this treatment, Julius Wagner Jauregg, Link, received the Nobel Prize for it. The extremely high fevers of the malaria infections killed the syphilis bacteria. Then the patients were cured of the malaria using quinine. If you earned $1 every second, it would take 921 years to have more money than Bill Gates. Giraffes eat bones. We live many times closer to the last dinosaur than the first and last dinosaur did to each other. Stalin, Hitler, and Freud all lived in Vienna at the same time. Cheetahs can't roar, but they can meow like house cats. The record for most children born to one mother is 69. To the wife of Fyodor Vasilyev, B. 1707 c. 1782, a peasant from Shuar, Russia, in 27 labors. She gave birth to 16 pairs of twins, 7 sets of triplets and 4 sets of quadruplets. There is an extremely rare condition called Stoneman syndrome. It causes any smallest damage done to tissue to regrow into a bone. Speaking briefly, people affected by this sickness slowly turn into living statues as they get older. If sound could travel through space, the roar of the sun would be deafening even though it's 93 miles away. The longest time between two twins being born is 87 days. There is no universally accepted definition of vegetable. It's a cultural and culinary term, and varies from place to place. From 1613 and 1620 a samurai traveled to Rome by way of Mexico. During this time, Shakespeare was still alive. Virginia had been founded for around a decade. Galileo was accused of heresy, and Pocahontas arrived in England. He met the Pope. He was made a Roman citizen. His name was Hisekuri Tsunenaga, and was the last Japanese person to officially visit Europe until around 1860. When Mt. Everest was first measured it was exactly 29,000 feet. It was reported as 29,002 because exactly 29,000 was not believable. There are more planes destroyed in World War II than there are currently intact planes on Earth today. President John Tyler, born in 1790, has 2 living grandsons. Oxford University predates the Aztec Empire by over 200 years, and, for fun, one of my favorites, woolly mammoths were still around at the time the Great Pyramids in Giza were built. A 500-pound, cigarette-smoking, beer-drinking brown bear named Wojtek was enlisted in and served in the Polish army during World War II. Private Wojtek helped the Polish win the brutal Battle of Monte Cassino, and was even promoted to corporal. Following the war, he retired in Scotland. Nintendo was founded in 1889. Whale reproduction involves 3 whales, 2 to do the nasty and 1 to keep them from sinking. Talk about third wheeling. To scale, the distance between a nucleus and orbiting electron is 16 times longer than the distance between the Sun and Pluto. An eyewitness to Lincoln's assassination at Ford's Theater told his story on national television. If Earth was a basketball, to scale the moon would be a tennis ball. It would orbit around 7.5 meters away, which is a lot farther than most people think. If the nucleus of a hydrogen atom was a tennis ball, to scale the electron would orbit at about 2,500 meters away. There is no ball small enough to compare to how small electrons would still be at this scale. GPS satellites have to compensate for time dilation, because time runs at a different rate in orbit. The Tyrannosaurus rex lived closer in time to us than it did the Stegosaurus. Cornflakes were made with the intent to keep people from masturbating. When a woman with breast implants is cremated, the implants will melt into goo. Apostrophe. It drips to the bottom of the furnace and needs to be cleaned up once cooled. The Planck scale is the smallest known unit of measurement. If you were to expand a single atom until it was the size of the observable universe, about 92 billion light years in diameter, a single Planck unit at this scale would be about the size of an average tree. Link. Horses can't vomit. In chess there are over 9 million variations after just 3 moves each. 288 billion different possible positions after 4 moves each. In a complete game there are more possible positions than there are electrons in the observable universe. More people died making the V-2 rockets during World War II than were killed by them. Mike the Headless Chicken lived without a head for 18 months. Link. You see your nose all the time, but your brain just ignoring it. There is no good metric for the number of languages on Earth. This is mostly because linguists cannot agree on what constitutes a new language and what constitutes a dialect of an existing language. The best current metric of how many languages exist is the number of translations of the Christian Bible. It's pretty well known by now, but calculators today have more computing power than Apollo 11. We got to the moon with slide rulers and huge balls. You can boil water in a paper cup over an open flame. Your head ages faster than your feet. One day Mao Zedong saw a sparrow eating grain. Thinking that the sparrows were hurting China's grain supply, he and the Communist Party launched the Four Pests campaign. The Chinese military and population killed every sparrow they could find. Embassies didn't allow the Chinese to kill sparrows on their property, so the Chinese bagged pots and pans outside the embassies 24/7 until the sparrows died of exhaustion. Unfortunately for the Chinese, sparrows mainly eat insects, not grain. The locust population exploded and 43 million people starved to death. Link. There are more trees on the Earth than stars in the Milky Way. Every time you shuffle a deck of cards, you've probably made an entirely unique order, as compared to every other shuffle in history. Sense of smell is molecular, meaning that molecules of what you are smelling are actually inside of your body as a result of smelling them. Think about that the next time you enter a public restroom. Even if 99% of Earth's population thought you were unattractive, 76 million people would still find you attractive. You can fit every planet between the Earth and Moon, including all the gas giants. But if you lined up all of Jeff Bezos's money from end to end, it wouldn't fit between the Earth and Moon. It could go to the moon and back 34 times. Jeff Bezos has enough money to make a ladder to the moon, and to make it out of money. Sharks have been around longer than trees. You are closer to being a millionaire than Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos. A child can be born that has 2 biological fathers and 1 biological mother, inherits DNA information from 2 different men and 1 woman. It's called heteropaternal superfecundation, for those who are interested. Edit. I'm actually talking about a form of chimerism resulting from heteropaternal superfecundation, where 2 eggs fertilized by different men merge and result in a single child. In Florida it is illegal to tie an elephant to a parking meter without first paying the meter as if the elephant were a car. And AMP X200B. Where in Florida do you find live elephants? Please don't say Disney World and Dumbo. Only 4 people have been to the Challenger Deep, the deepest part of the ocean. One of those people is James Cameron, the director of Titanic. Ireland was a net exporter of food during the Great Potato Famine. The phrase plastic surgery has nothing to do with the material. Plastic surgery as a field predates the development of plastics by 70 years. The 2 terms simply share a Greek word root meaning sculpted or reshaped. 1 billion seconds is about 31 years. The color orange is named after the fruit.